This is KGW News at Sunrise.
First at 5, a former mayor charged with child pornography. Coming up this morning, what he said minutes after pleading guilty. Plus,
what these folks are doing is simply out trying to gather data in an unofficial way. And then unfortunately, we're seeing reports of people misusing that data to try to continue to spread the big lie.
Talking about questions about voter fraud during the 2020 election. Those questions still being asked. In fact, those questions are being asked face-to-face now at people's homes. The KGW investigation takes a closer look at this, including what to do if someone comes to your house.
And big success for NASA. New data show a spacecraft successfully knocked an asteroid off course, much more than NASA initially expected.
so we're safe? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Hey, Wednesday morning, October 12th. Thank you for joining us today. Hope your day's off to a good start. What do you have for us weather-wise?
My last words, I look up. I thought they knocked that thing off course.
You?
It's coming at me. Right. Duck. All right. It's a cool morning out there. So eventually these longer nights have to start catching up with you and producing some lows in the 40s, right? That's happening this morning. 46 in Sherwood. Hillsborough, good morning. Mid-40s. Gresham, good morning. Sandy, 44. Salem now in the 40s. Good morning to you. Who's cool on the spot? Estacada, Lebanon, Sheridan, and McMinnville at 44 degrees. So jacket morning if you're going to be spending some time outside early on. This will be a beautiful sunny day, and it will be a day with the potential for record high temperatures. 68 degrees at noon. We'll be upper 70s when the kids get out of school. We could make it to 80 for a high today, and that's your forecast.
All right. Thank you, Rod. We start with a deadly shooting in Northeast Portland. And as you head out the door this morning, be aware the police investigation is closing some streets. Officers have been at the States Motel all night. That's right across the street from McDaniel High School and just down the road from Glen Haven Park. Officers say around 9 o'clock last night they found an injured man. He had gunshot wounds. He was in the motel parking lot. They tried to treat him, but he died. Police haven't made any arrests, but tell us that one man was detained as part of their investigation. This morning, Russell Street is closed from 82nd Avenue to 85th, but 82nd itself does remain open. We'll certainly update you here and on KGW.com as we learn more.
The man who served as Beaverton's mayor for 11 years has pleaded guilty to child pornography charges. Denny Doyle will be sentenced in January.
His case was part of the Justice Department's Project Safe Childhood. It's a nationwide initiative addressing the epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse. Here's KGW's Catherine Cook with more on Denny Doyle's sentencing.
Change of plea. In federal court Tuesday morning, former Beaverton Mayor Denny Doyle pleaded guilty to one count of possession of child pornography. Back in March, when the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Oregon first charged him, Doyle pleaded not guilty. He's accused of possessing explicit digital images of children under 12 in 2014 and 2015. That was during his time as mayor.
Because we're really trying to develop a way to get people stable, fixed housing.
Doyle, who's 74, faces a maximum of 20 years in federal prison and up to a $250,000 fine. He must also register as a sex offender. But the Oregonian reports as part of Tuesday's plea agreement, the U.S. Attorney's Office said it would recommend a sentence of 1 year and 1 day. In court, Doyle told the judge he's in counseling. As he left the courthouse, Doyle told the Oregonian, quote, "You know, we make mistakes." FBI Portland's Child Exploitation Task Force investigated the case. In March, KGW spoke with Portland's FBI special agent in charge. He couldn't comment on Doyle's case, but noted the growing problem of child exploitation and sex trafficking.
Is this stuff more common in the community than we know, like the average Joe knows?
I'll say this, it's scary as to how much we see on a regular basis. It really is. And I say that as a dad. It scares me to see that much.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Inflation dealing a major blow to a nonprofit that feeds hundreds of people each week. They say rising prices are making it really hard to keep up with the growing need. The nonprofit is called Feed the Mass. They provide food for women's shelters, after-school programs, and organizations that serve the homeless. And the nonprofit says it's only getting harder for them to keep up with all the demand.
The number of people coming in for meals is growing up dramatically. A lot of food programs that provided food have gone away. And so demand is going up, prices are going up. And if it costs me $3 more to make a meal, that's $3 more that we can't afford to pay to people.
So they say in the summer, 80% of their food comes from donations, but that drops to about 30% in the winter. So if you're interested in helping out, we've posted a link to the website at kgw.com. Meantime, City of Vancouver officials asking the community for input about a new Safe Stay Village. It'd be comprised of small modular buildings, like you see there, where people experiencing homelessness can stay. The new location being considered is near 11th and Esther Street downtown. That's about 2 blocks north of Esther Shore Park. There's an in-person info session this Saturday at City Hall and also a virtual meeting next Wednesday. Vancouver already has 2 Safe Stay communities. The first opened late last year off SR 500. The second is along 4th Plain Boulevard.
Other headlines we're tracking for you this morning. The Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing is looking for your input on the way PPB handled the 2020 protests. It's hosting a virtual town hall from 6 to 8:30 tonight. The city hired an outside organization to take that public feedback and make some recommendations, including opportunities for ongoing police training. Intel is planning to lay off thousands of workers because of declining sales. That's according to a Bloomberg report. Intel has 114,000 employees here in Oregon. The company plans to cut about 20% of them, potentially putting hundreds of Oregonians out of work. Intel is expected to announce the layoffs formally as early as this month. And we're getting our first look at the application for student debt relief. The White House released a draft yesterday. Borrowers have to provide their Social Security number and income information. There's no website for the application yet, but the White House does expect to launch one later this month. And those are some of your Wednesday headlines.
Now back to that fire that we've been tracking in Clark County. Officials have determined the Nakia Creek Fire is human caused because they say there was no lightning on Sunday when the fire started. People who live in the area sent us these photos showing the fire burning on Larch Mountain near Camas. You can see the flames and smoke throwing up there. The fire remains at about 250 acres and is now 10% contained. Level 1 and 2 evacuation orders remain in place, meaning be ready and get set. You can see the map there on your screen with the colored circles showing each zone. Coming up at 5:30, we'll hear from a woman who lives near those evacuation areas.
Today marks 60 years since the historic Columbus Day storm. It was the windstorm of all windstorms, with gusts as strong as a Category 3 hurricane right here in Portland. Nearly 50 people died, and the destruction was felt from San Francisco to Seattle.
Had the perfect conditions, everything came together. Doesn't happen like that all very often, but in this case it definitely did, and it was a rather memorable storm.
Coming up tonight on KGW News, Joe Ranieri will explain just how historic this storm was and why there really wasn't much time for people to prepare.
And Rod has got his notes over here, handwritten, by the way. You've got some more on that.
I do. So let's go to the ones that are graphically presented in our weather computer.
AV department, please.
Let's go to the weather map, shall we? So these were the peak wind gusts in the books from that 1962 Columbus Day storm. Mount Hebo in the Coast Range, 170 mile per hour wind gusts. Willapa Hills, of course, basically the Coast Range on the Washington side, 160 mile per hour gusts. Cape Blanco, 145. Right here in Portland, the Morrison Bridge anemometer, 116 mile per hour gusts. There was a 90 mile per hour gust in Salem. It was about 90 at Pearson Airfield up in Vancouver as well. And as we mentioned in Joe's lead to his story that will be on tonight, these would make you think this was a storm as powerful as a Category 3 hurricane. Now, this is interesting. National Weather Service posted this graphic some time ago. There's the storm track 1962. Notice of these three historic storms, 81 and 95, the 62 storm track is the one closest to the Oregon coast. All these have a trajectory as they swing in to give you those south winds that come running up the valley, and that's when we can get our strongest windstorms. Now, what's not on this particular graphic is this storm. Good morning, Vernonia. December of 2007, Bay City had a gust of 129. The Coast Range had over 14 inches of rainfall, and of course, all that led to the Vernonia flood in December of 2007. So do some math. 2007, we went 1962 to 81 to 95 to 2007. We're getting these historic storms, if you just look at that pattern, every dozen to 20 years, with the last one being 2007. 2007 was pretty close to the Columbus Day storm. It just wasn't it took a different trajectory, and it was the coast that got hit really hard. But if you do the math on that, all of a sudden we're getting back in that wheelhouse of where you would think we're getting due for another big storm. It just depends on the exact track, who gets hit the hardest, of course. Okay, these are current numbers. We are clear, 47 in Salem, 52 in Portland. Temperatures today, upper 70s. So some of us will hit 80. This shows McMinnville at 81. It shows Longview, Kelso 77, Vancouver 80. The record high here in Portland today is 78. And I'm forecasting 80. That would be a record tomorrow, 82. That would be a record Saturday. That would be a record Sunday. It is crazy that this 80-degree temperature weather just continues on this 12th day of October. Back to you.
No doubt. Thank you, Rod. Hey, stay with us. Voters have been complaining about folks going door to door, asking them how they voted in the 2020 election. Just ahead, how Oregon officials are responding.